Welcome back. Former President Trump expected to be in a D.C. court this afternoon. He's expected to plead not guilty to 4 charges related to the January 6th special counsel investigation. Trump is now calling for the trial to be moved to West Virginia, saying that he can't get a fair trial in Washington, D.C. He writes this on Truth Social. The radical left wants to criminalize free speech. Joining me right now is Florida Congressman Cory Mills. He's a member of the House Foreign Affairs and Armed Services Committees. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. Incredibly coincidental timing here that President Trump keeps getting indicted and more charges added a day or hours after we learn serious evidence against the Biden family and influence peddling. Your reaction?
Well, you're exactly right, Maria. I mean, each time that there has been a new investigation or a new hearing or federal document 1023, which was released, they immediately go ahead and try to burn up the media cycle to cover down the Biden crime family. Look, we're now seeing where this is a continual weaponization by the Department of Justice, by Merrick Garland, and by the Biden administration to try and go after their top political opponent. And at this point, it's hard to ignore that this isn't anything other than election interference. Now, let's open up a little bit onto Special Counsel Jack Smith's actual accusations. I mean, if you look at the first one, which is brought under 18 U.S.C. Section 371, it's actually talking about the idea that Trump is using knowingly false claims with regards to the elections. Now, let's think about what happened in 2016 with Hillary Clinton, who claimed that Russian interference actually caused the elections, or Stacey Abrams during the Abrams-Kemp gubernatorial race of Georgia, where she claimed that the election had been stolen for 3+ years. So where are their indictments? Where is the ability for the American people and for those to be able to say that something is or is not fraudulent? And so this is a violation, in my opinion, that starts to encroach upon our constitutional liberties of the First Amendment, which is our actual rights to free speech.
Well, how do you criminalize free speech? And I think most people know that Donald Trump has said it enough times. He thinks the election was stolen. I mean, don't you have to prove malice, that he's saying something that he doesn't believe?
Well, not only do you have to try and prove malice, but you have to show whereby this is actually preventing government functions. That's the whole thing that Jack Smith's trying to say, is that it was an obstruction of government functions, or that it was knowingly trying to deny certain government rights, which is your rights to vote, which that's not the case. So the reality is that they're just trying to utilize any type of trumped-up charges to indict the president so they can actually try and prevent him from being the top political opponent. But also, they see the polls.
Yeah.
You know, every time the president goes up in the polls, every time that they continue to try and uncover what Hunter Biden and the Biden crime family has done, and James Biden and Haley Biden and all the rest, then that's when these indictments start to come down. And it's occurred ever since A.G. Bragg.
Yeah.
So, you know, the idea that these 4 charges that they're trying to claim are obstructions or some types of a violation of knowing conspiracy is an absolute joke. And Jack Smith knows that if this was tried in court, that if this went to the Supreme Court, that it would be overturned because it is, in fact, covered by our First Amendment free speech.
Yeah, I just want to point out that Axios so far has been the only one, aside obviously from Fox and the New York Post. Axios points out the timing of Trump's indictment is blocking some of President Biden's recent bad news, they write. These charges happen the same time Fitch downgraded the U.S. credit score as well. The White House is claiming that, quote, extremism by Republicans caused the downgrade. Karine Jean-Pierre accused Republicans of cheerleading default and undermining democracy. Congressman, she's got her talking points. Kayleigh McGee-White is with me this morning. Go ahead, Kayleigh.
Congressman, I also wonder whether the timing of these indictments are, being scheduled in such a way as to prevent Trump from actually being on the campaign trail. I mean, you look at this timeline of all of the court appearances that he's going to have to go through over the next year. In between Super Tuesday, he has a New York criminal hush money suit. He's going to have to go to court for that. Then he has to go to court for a pyramid scheme class action suit. Then he has to go to Super Tuesday. I mean, is this the intention behind the wave of indictments? Is it to prevent Trump from actually campaigning?
Well, Kayleigh, that's exactly what the point is, but not just to prevent from campaigning, but preventing from the ability to debate, preventing, I mean, each one of these they're trying to say has a gag order on it. And in some cases, the gag order is actually more of a criminal penalty than the actual charge itself. So if you're a political opponent, you're running for president, and you're asked a question about something and you can't actually answer that, and you say, oh, well, sorry, I'm under order not to answer that, that almost looks like it's guilty by association. And I think that's the entire intent. So again, This goes back to what I said in the very beginning, which is nothing more than election interference. This is the utilization and weaponization of the Department of Justice to go after the top political opponent of Joe Biden. But it's also to go ahead and cover up all the things that are being released, whether it's Devin Archer, whether it was Tony Bobolinsky, whether it was the actual guy Zhao out of CEFC who released the ideas that he was having economic coercion by the Bidens, who was then Vice President Joe Biden. All of these things, as they come out, are then being covered in the media cycles by a new indictment. And this is all in the intent of trying to thwart President Trump in 2024.
Yeah, and we saw that WhatsApp message, right, with Hunter Biden telling, I believe it was the gentleman you just mentioned, I'm sitting here with my father. And he was, basically, Mike Baker, it sounded like a shakedown. It sure did.
Yeah, and you know, that's because it was a shakedown. Congressman, the Democrats are good at staying on message. I think we all have realized that at this point. So what do the Republicans do? We're marching our way towards 2024. What's the plan?
I mean, the plan has to be that at this point, we need to start going forward with an actual impeachment inquiry. We have the necessary information, in my opinion. If you look at the FD 1023, if you look at, and this is your background, your expertise, which is tracking the assets, tracking the money, following the money.
Yeah.
I mean, you see the 20+ different spider webs of companies. You see what has happened with Devin Archer's testimony that the big guy was involved. Tony Bobolinsky actually is the one who confirmed that Joe Biden was, in fact, the big guy, as it was noted, with a 10%. So when we have all of these things, when we have the continual weaponization of DOJ, we need to be going after and launching these impeachment inquiries against Joe Biden, against Merrick Garland, against Mayorkas for the border, against Lloyd Austin and Blinken for the Afghan botched withdrawal. Look, it's time for us as Republicans to get on message, get unified, start governing, and stop saying we're the majority and start acting like the majority.
Well, who's holding you back from doing it then?
Well, we have to go through the actual committee proceedings. We need to have Congressman Jim Jordan and Judiciary to go forward. We need to have Congressman James Comer gather. I mean, they're all gathering the information. They're all going through the formal proceedings. The difference between a Republican and a Democrat is that we actually follow the rules and follow the proceedings. And so when we go forward, we're going to present this the way it should be. And look, I'm not concerned with what the Senate does. I'm elected to the House of Representatives. I will do my job in the House, and we can worry about the Senate later. And I hear this all the time. Well, if it goes through the House and the impeachment, it's not going to necessarily pass the Senate. The Senate is not my responsibility. The House is. That's what I was elected to represent. So I'm here. I'm ready, Maria. So just put me in, Coach.
What about Barack Obama apparently reportedly warning President Biden about Trump's political strength during a private lunch meeting in June? Obama also vowed to do all he can to help President Biden's reelection, Congressman. What do you think that involves?
Well, again, though, I think that Obama is probably just as much rolled into this as Joe Biden is, and he wants to protect his own skin. I mean, he's got skin in the game, but we know this is Obama's third term to begin with. So he doesn't want someone like President Trump to come in 2024 to continue to uncover what the deep state's really doing. He doesn't want President Trump to come in and to basically stop this two-tiered justice system of elitists in D.C. in the swamp. So they're doing everything they can to try and prevent and protect the power that they have there in D.C.
All right, Congressman, we'll be watching all of this. It's just an extraordinary moment. Thank you so much.